here we go. Good morning, everybody. My name is Lana Harris. Thank you so much for joining us here at 11 o'clock. It is February the 1st, start of Black History Month. Reason to celebrate, if I do say so myself. We want to hit some top headlines for you. We did this at 10 o'clock. We have some updates on some stories that we talked about then. We've got some news stories as well, so I hope you will tune in. If you are watching on Facebook, on the Atlanta News First Facebook, and you want to write a comment, I can see that. I'll shout you out, I'll say hello. So feel free to be as interactive as you want to be. So let's jump into it. The first story is actually really sad, really unfortunate to tell you about. A 7-year-old was hit by a car, a school bus, I should say, on Brown Drive in Decatur. This is an update to breaking news we brought you during the morning show. DeKalb police tell us that that 7-year-old boy unfortunately slipped and fell in front of the school bus, and that bus ran over his leg. Awful situation. That child was taken to the hospital. The driver did stay on scene, and the other students were transferred to another bus at the scene and taken to school. We know that police were on site to monitor students as they were transferring onto that other bus, but oh my gosh, you just can only imagine what those other students were feeling if they happened to see it. What that poor 7-year-old was feeling, his parents were feeling. Hopefully that child will be okay. We will stay on top of this for you so we can monitor his condition, and hopefully it's a happy ending there. Awful story. All right, number
this is
two,
an older bill.
Let's go back here real quick. This is user error that you're seeing right now. Sequoia Middle School is back in school today, okay? So yesterday, students actually had to be evacuated from the school because officials say that smoke was coming into multiple parts of the building. It was filling up parts of the school because an electrical unit, yeah, it's a very old school, if you know Sequoia. Rebecca Schramm is actually in Doraville as we speak, because as it so happens, school officials are actually considering tearing down that school and building a new one.
This is an older building. It was originally built as a high school in the 1960s. The architecture you see there kind of gives that away. Well, happening today, the DeKalb County School Board will meet to approve a plan that includes an entire new Sequoia Middle School. What happened yesterday afternoon really illustrates just one of the issues here. From our Atlanta News First chopper, you could see once the school was evacuated, school personnel provided a temporary repair of the unit that caused all the smoke inside the building. You might remember in 2021, voters in DeKalb County renewed a sales tax, a special tax to pay for major school improvements. We'll take a look, because on that list to be considered today, a new school for Sequoia Middle and a new Sequoia High School. Also, district leaders are proposing a new Dresden Elementary School, a new Cross Keys Middle School, and the modernization of Druid Hills High School. You might remember Druid Hills made news last year when a student-produced video went viral. It showed poor conditions inside that aging building. Well, all of that stirred up so much controversy, the board ended up firing its superintendent at the time, Cheryl Watson Harris. If the board approves that final list of capital improvement projects today, it's going to get things moving so that the work can finally get underway. The meeting is scheduled to start at 10 o'clock this morning. We'll have updates for you throughout the day. Live in Doraville, Rebecca Schramm, Atlanta News First.
All right, Rebecca, thank you for that. We will have another report from her coming up on Atlanta News First at noon, so be sure to tune in to that. In the meantime, okay, Tom Brady is retiring again. Now, if you were watching at 10 o'clock, we tried to air his video, his goodbye video. I'm putting quotes because we've heard this before, right? Okay, but I'll let you hear it from the man himself. We tried this at 10. It didn't work. We got the audio issues fixed, folks. Here it is.
Good morning, guys. I'll get to the point right away. I'm retiring for good. I know the process was a pretty big deal last time, so when I woke up this morning, I figured I'd just press record and let you guys know first. So it won't be long-winded. Like, you only get one super emotional retirement essay, and I used mine up last year. So really thank you guys so much, to every single one of you, for supporting me, my family, my friends, my teammates, my competitors. I could go on forever. There's too many. Thank you guys for allowing me to live my absolute dream. I wouldn't change a thing. Love you all. Good morning, guys.
That's
I'll
sweet.
get.
Yeah, we've heard it before. Who's to say he's not going to come back next week and do it again? Just kidding. Come back to the Buccaneers. Who knows? Okay, I'm not judging. Congrats to him. Happy for him. Happy for his wife, his kids. We'll see if it sticks. That's all I gotta say. Okay, let's talk about this one. This one you might have seen or heard in the news because we've been talking about this for months. Despite the pushback, construction of the Atlanta Public Safety Training Facility is going to move forward. Now, this is the same facility that has spawned violent protests. Protesters have thrown Molotov cocktails at officers, rocks at officers. One protester was shot and killed after that protester shot a trooper. Protesters then destroyed buildings in downtown Atlanta and set a police car on fire. After that incident, it has been an absolute chaotic process with those protesters trying to prevent this facility from coming about. So a lot of their concern has been environmental concerns, and we can tell you that this training facility is going to be on an 85-acre site that's going to include dozens of acres of green space, parks, and trails. There will also be double erosion control. That's kind of what the city and the county announced as some of how they were going to mitigate the environmental concerns that some of these groups had. We can also tell you that Mayor Dickens says the training facility is going to include areas like de-escalation training, mental health, community-oriented policing, crisis intervention training, and civil rights history education. So it sounds like a lot of good, but protesters say that all of that is not good enough. They still don't want this facility built at all. They believe this is just a way to militarize the police, and they want Andre Dickens to resign. Again, we've been following this for months now. The chaos involved with this has been absolutely wild to follow, but again, there's just passions on both sides. One who believes that there's a training facility that's necessary to keep people safe, it's going to be good for business, good for the area. The other, again, saying that they feel like it's militarizing the police, it's going to hurt the environment. We will continue to stay on top of this for you. Okay, in other news, what are we talking about next? Tyre Nichols. Tyre Nichols. If you've seen the video, a sigh might be all you have. It was hard to watch, especially in its entirety, especially with the history of videos like that surfacing. It kind of just sits with you for days. His funeral is going to be today. Okay, so here he is. If you don't know what he looks like, if you haven't seen it, if you've kind of been avoiding it, here he is on your screen. He's 29 years old. And so, yeah, after a week of protests and that release of that video of what happened to him, his family and friends are going to get together to lay him to rest. We can tell you Reverend Al Sharpton is going to be doing the eulogy, and thousands of people are expected to show up for him today, including Vice President Kamala Harris, Breonna Taylor's mother, George Floyd's brother. Now, you've probably heard about the 5 officers that are now charged with his murder. You've probably also heard that 3 fire department officials there were also fired for violating multiple protocols as they reportedly got on scene and then waited minutes before rendering aid as Tyre Nichols was slumped against the police car at that point. So now we know more about that initial police report. Okay, listen to this. According to CNN, the initial police report said Nichols started to fight with officers and at one point grabbed one of their guns. Neither of those claims were substantiated by the police videos released that week. If you saw them, you would have noticed that. And despite the fact that the videos don't appear to show Nichols fighting back, the report identified Nichols as a suspect in an aggravated assault. The report does not mention the officers punching and kicking Nichols, but one of the officers at the scene, who has since been charged with second-degree murder, was described as the victim in this report. The report also claimed that Nichols, who was black, was pulled over for reckless driving at a high speed, and that claim is also not substantiated by the video of the encounter. So there are a lot of questions here, how all that got into the report, how this was allowed to happen. We know that Scorpion unit that these men were involved in has been disbanded there. There's been conversations about the Scorpion unit in departments across the country, including right here in our area. It's just an awful story. If you want to watch that funeral, it's going to be at 1 o'clock in Memphis, so that's 1 o'clock local time there. And we're going to be talking about this on Atlanta News First at noon on our show. But of course, you can find all of these stories and so much more on AtlantaNewsFirst.com or on our Atlanta News First app. And that does it for me, but I hope that you will tune into our noon show. And otherwise, I hope you have a fantastic day.